All right, what's up, guys? How we doing? Happy Sunday here at Occupy Fantasy. We got Chuck Silver and Smitty bringing you some Sunday strategy for the NBA. Hopefully, your NFL day is going well. We had some, fun things going on in Cleveland. Or I don't know if the game was in Cleveland, but the Browns won, so that was pretty fun. Smitty, how we doing today?
Doing pretty good. Yeah, I was pretty heavy on Jameis Winston, so happy to see that.
Right? Seemed like the right play. So hopefully these afternoon games continue to go well. But we're here to talk about NBA, so let's get right into it. Looking at the top of the model, we got Giannis, SGA, Dame, Trey Young, Steph Curry. I mean, these are a lot of good names. Who stands out from the top here?
From the top, I think Trey Young really stands out in the game where OKC's pulling a lot of ownership, but they're not. The Hawks aren't really pulling ownership. The Hawks are going to be shorthanded once again. Hunter got a late Q tag, which is really interesting. So I just think Young's in for the minutes, and his usage has been insane since Murray's been gone.
Yeah, really like Trey Young this season. Now, yesterday, Jayhawk and I kind of hyped up the Bulls. I was wearing my North Carolina Michael Jordan jersey. That didn't work out at all. How do we feel about Trey Young going against this OKC defense? Because I mean, Lou Dort and Caruso has a lot to deal with.
Yeah, their defense against guards is pretty scary. So really, I like Jalen Johnson the most out of the Hawks, but it's Trey Young. He can score on anybody, so it does affect my decisions a little bit, but it's still Trey Young.
Yeah, and we're getting him at the same price he has been. He's probably due for a price increase. Maybe he would have seen one if it was against a different team, but 13 and 11% ownership seems pretty reasonable. And then you mentioned Jalen Johnson. Love Jalen Johnson today. Did we get news if DeAndre Hunter was in or not?
We haven't got it yet. I know he got a late questionable tag, and it was a knee tag, so I always lean there out. Looks like we might have lost Chuck here. Um, I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about if DeAndre Hunter's out, which I always lean they are with the late Q tag and it with it being a knee injury. I always would assume they're out, but that brings starting. They could go a lot of different ways. I don't really know what they'll do. They might start Vit, but we don't really have a ton of interest. He's near mint price, but he's not a very good fantasy producer. The more interest we would have would be maybe they play Okongwu against Capella. I know we've seen that happen a little last year when they were shorthanded, and that would be more minutes for Risa, which he's 4,100 on DK and 3,900 on FanDuel. So I think he would make for a really solid play if Hunter's out.
Okay, nice. Sorry, I think I cut out there for a second. Hopefully, we're good for the rest of the show. Sorry about that, fellas. Did you mention Dyson Daniels?
No, I didn't.
Okay, I was just looking at him, and it's his OF index score today that's really standing out. He's top of value, projected for 16 and 12% ownership. Again, he's kind of in the same matchup that Trey Young is going against this OKC defense, but 5,100 on DraftKings still seems pretty reasonable given the minutes he's been playing. We haven't projected for 33, and then 6,100 on FanDuel. Like, we know the stock upside, so I do think he's still worth some high risk shots over there.
Yeah, I agree. And losing Hunter is only going to help his minutes because they're going to need his defense out there.
Let's take a look at OKC on the other side of this game. So yesterday we were hyping up SGA, who was, him and LaMelo were well at the top of the model. They both kind of failed, but Chet and Jalen did not fail. They were both phenomenal, especially Jalen Williams. So who are your favorite plays at the top here from these three?
Jalen Williams, with price considered, is my favorite. It just seems like he has such a good floor, and then his ceiling is pretty immense because he's just a guy that does a little bit of everything. So I like that, and I do like going to Chet too. I think you can attack this Atlanta team with bigs. Chet's looked great, and he's going to be the starting five without Hartenstein out there. So I think we continue to ride Chet until they raise his price.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. He's going to look awesome. And then, I mean, the 49% on Jalen Williams on FanDuel, are you good with that? Are you going to be over that?
I've came in underweight, honestly, even though he's one of my favorite players, but I just keep coming in underweight.
And then, are you looking at any of these secondary guys, Lou Dort, Wallace, Wiggins, Caruso, Isaiah Joe, maybe even Ushman Deng over at min price on DraftKings?
To me, there's just guys you kind of mix in. It could be any of them. It's hard guessing which one, but any of them could have a decent game. I think Case and Wallace, if he draws the starts, okay at his price.
I like it. Jose in the chat, who's getting a lot of ownership that you're just not getting to. Let's go ahead and sort by ownership. Highest projected guys, Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons, highest projected ownership. Nice. SGA, Chet, Zubac, Schroeder, Jalen Williams over on DraftKings. Are you looking to get away from any of those guys?
Um, no, not necessarily. I think that Simmons kind of carries some risk. I mean, I don't know who he might guard Giannis, which always carries some risk. His minutes are also a concern. So if you're looking to get away from someone, I think Simmons is fine.
Excuse me. Yeah, his DK value looks okay, but his OF index is definitely in the toilet. And we don't care about this as much for cheaper guys' value pieces, but it is something to pay attention to. So I kind of agree. Probably want to be under the field on Simmons, but I think the 5K price is fine. I mean, he kind of fills up the stat sheet and he looks good in the time that he's been out there if he can stop fouling.
Yep.
I mean, Jalen Williams actually kind of stands out as low ownership on DraftKings at 7,300. I'm going to be over the field over there.
Yeah, I agree there.
Would you have Daniels for point guard in a single entry? Yeah, I don't see why not.
Yep.
Let's see some other chalky guys.
I think Cam Johnson is kind of another one that if he's not shooting well, he don't really do a whole lot else. So I wouldn't mind getting away there.
I like that too. Yeah, and then we can kind of just take that leverage and pivot over to more Dennis Schroeder, who's pulling a lot of ownership, but he's probably the better play in this matchup.
Yep.
And then Cam Thomas, I mean, we know his ceiling, 7,500. It could be a thing, guards versus Milwaukee. We'll have to see, but at 7% ownership, I don't mind taking shots on him.
Yeah, I know guards were a target last year against Milwaukee, so maybe that continues.
Missy at 4,700 on FanDuel. So it's tough on FanDuel because we only get one center. At 4K on DraftKings, I'm interested because he's been getting some decent minutes the last few games. Have you noticed this guy?
Yeah. I think he's decent, especially with Zion still being on a somewhat minutes limit.
And seeing 22 minutes in the last game with Zion in is a pretty good sign for him. 8 and 6. I mean, just do a little bit more, get that double-double, and he's a smash at 4K on today's slate. Even though he's center on DraftKings, we can play two, and I don't think there were too many centers that we're really dying to get to today.
No.
What about Trae Young and Daniels together? Yeah, I think it's fine. Let's see. So OKC and Atlanta looks like our favorite game. Of these other games, I mean, we talked about Brooklyn, Milwaukee a little bit, but between New Orleans, Portland, or Clippers, Golden State, do you think either of these games stands out?
Not really. I think I like some of the plays from the Clippers, Golden State a little bit more.
So with the Clippers, James Harden really kind of went off last game. Would he have like 17 assists, something like that?
Yeah.
I mean, his ownership's pretty reasonable, 9,300. I'm fine going right back to him today.
Yeah, I like James Harden. I think he's one of my favorite plays at the top end. The ownership's kind of there, but his price is just still not for what his usage is right now. He's literally their whole offense.
And now Ivica Zubac, I mean, I kind of thought he was going to have a bigger role. I don't know that he showed it in the first two games, but he definitely showed it in the previous one. And his OF index score is phenomenal for the price that he's at today. DK value, FD value, really good. We don't mind playing him at center on FanDuel, 6,500. The ownership is there, but I still think, this is probably appropriate.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's one of the better plays on the slate, especially at the center position. I know he went off last time, and Golden State plays pretty big, so they're going to need him out there as much as possible.
What about the other guys? I mean, Norman Powell, the price is probably a little bit too low. The ownership seems pretty reasonable to me. We expected a bigger role. I'm not too high on Norman Powell in general, and I guess the model really isn't today either. But I think we have to pay attention to the usage that he's had in the first couple of games. Do you like him in this price range?
I think he's fine. I prefer him more on FanDuel. Of course, he's getting more ownership there, but I just don't think he has the ceiling to kill you. But I'm fine getting him if he makes sense in your lineup.
And I'll throw out Derek Jones Jr. and Terrence Mann as some like auxiliary low on plays we can get to a few percent. Their prices are both good. You know, Terrence Mann more so on FanDuel, but I think these guys are both fine.
Yeah, I like them too.
And let's look at the other side, Golden State. So we were talking a little before stream about how good Steph has looked, and they're 2-0?
Yeah.
So he hasn't played the fourth quarter in either game, and I mean that's just awesome. So he's missing out on some stats. He's still almost getting there. He's 8,800 and 8,600. Ownership is in check. I mean, we have a lot of good options. You know, him versus Trey Young, we're saving about $1,000. So how much do we like Steph today?
I like Steph. I know the spread's pretty big there, so I kind of like running Steph with like James Harden or Norman Powell or someone that's going to keep them in the game. I think that's a pretty interesting way to build.
I like it. I like it. And then looking at his Golden State teammates, the problem, I think we mentioned this on the last show we were on, was they're running a 12-man rotation, so minutes are very spread out. So other than Steph, I mean, no one's projected for 30 minutes. Not even, I thought Kuminga was going to be the second guy here. We only have him projected for 23. Does that seem a little low, or maybe that's what he's been playing?
I think that's a little too low. I think he's at least been getting 26 or so if a game's
No,
close.
no, he's played 20 and 18. So we figure he's losing that fourth quarter rotation. Give him 7 more minutes. So yeah, right around what you said, 26 minutes, 25 minutes.
And then other than that, I mean, I think you could take shots on a Melton or Hield, hope they get hot and get a little bit of extended run, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, Buddy Hield's shooting like 100% since he's gotten to Golden State. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable, and he's breaking slates in his 12 minutes a game. We haven't projected for 20. Now he's up to 5K on DraftKings at 2 and 1%. This is a better play on a shorter slate.
Yeah.
We can still play him in the large slate, though. It's only 4 games today, and he is one of the guys capable of. I mean, he's done it twice in a row, so why not again? Do we have minutes projections for Looney and Moody? So Looney we have projected for 11.6. Moody we have projected for 12.9. It's so tough. And I forget what the showdown game was tonight, but if this is the showdown, I think we can look at them there. But even on the night slate, they're both going to be really tough to get to.
Yep.
Thoughts on Jordan Hawkins today? I think you were. Did you mention him before the stream too?
Yeah. He played 29 minutes last game, and he's a guy that likes to shoot. He also had, I think it was 7 or 8 rebounds, which is pretty interesting. And we know Zion, they say he's going to play similar minutes as last time. So we should expect Hawkins. We have him for 27 minutes. So I think that's pretty accurate. So I like getting into him, especially at 4,200 on DK.
Yeah, I was just box score watching that game last time, but it seemed like he was taking every shot in the fourth quarter, and so it's really strong to see. The 27 minutes projection is awesome. This 4,200 price on DraftKings is probably a little bit too low given the role that he's had these past few games, especially with DeJounte out. And I don't believe this 15% ownership. I'd be really surprised if he came in below 20% on DraftKings, and even on FanDuel, the 7%. He's going to be double digits over there, but he's a strong play on both sides.
Yep.
Playing Giannis in a single line. Let's see. Yeah, why not? Yeah, seems great. Top of the model by a bit. I mean, it's like Giannis, SGA, then Dame and Trae Young and everyone else. So it's a 4-game slate. Giannis really doesn't have to have a ceiling game to be in the winning lineup today. Let's take a look at value and see how we can fit in Giannis. So top of value is a guy that I dissed, and I shouldn't have because he's been phenomenal. Torian Prince over in Milwaukee. Playing starters minutes, we haven't projected for 3,700 on DraftKings at 15%. I kind of love it.
Yeah, it's crazy, but I'm right there with you. I mean, he's going against Brooklyn too. This game's projected to have ownership, and he's kind of lower owned, so I like going there.
And so he's played 30 minutes in both of the games. He shot 6 for 7 and 5 for 7, like 4 for 5 from 3. That's probably not going to continue, but the rebounding seems good, and he's only had 1 stock. So again, it's a short slate. We don't need him to put up this 28 or 26 to be in the winning lineup. It's more so about what he allows us to do, like get in Giannis. So top of the model, I mean, might feel bad, but at this ownership, I think we gotta pay attention. At FanDuel, 4,900 projected at 0%. He probably deserves to be more than 0%, but not much more than that.
Yeah.
We both like Dyson Daniels. Daniel Tice, I think, is a guy that we've both been playing more than the field the last couple of slates, and it's been not great. But at 4K center only, sub 10% ownership on both sides. Are you going back there?
Yeah, I mean his value in the model is insane, and I thought maybe we overprojected his minutes, but we only have him at 20 minutes, so that seems really reasonable. I'm fine with going there. We don't have a lot of priorities at center, so I think he makes sense.
And what's interesting, back to that question about Missy earlier, Missy's projected for 21, Tice is projected for 20. Like, where are the rest of the minutes going? That's center.
Zion, maybe.
Could be Zion, yeah, because they're minutes from the first two games, so that's something that. Maybe did they slide Herb Jones down to center
Yeah,
for a few minutes?
he is going to play center a little bit too.
Okay, so that's something to pay attention to. That like Tice and Missy, I think are both good plays, even though the model doesn't like Missy as much. But their minutes are probably capped pretty close to 20. Jones. Is this a 3-point guard slate? Yeah, I think so. I don't see why not.
Yeah, I'm getting to quite a bit of point guards.
I mean, we're still sorted by DK value. I don't know that there's any other point guards on here besides Dyson Daniels, maybe Kason Wallace, but we like Steph, we like Trae Young, we like Dame, so they're just definitely elite point guards to pay up for. And I already mentioned we don't love the centers today, so yeah, definitely a 3-point guard slate makes sense.
We also get the Trae Young hometown narrative. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Oh, you gotta love the hometown narratives.
Yeah.
Gonna put on a show for his people. Is Looney an option for this slate? It's tough. I mean, we mentioned he's predicted for like 11 minutes. Yeah, I mean, 3,200 on DraftKings. I could see the argument there because he could put up, I don't know, low teens in that time, and it's enough if it lets you fit in the other winning pieces into your lineup.
Yeah.
Just a few other value pieces that stand out to me. Still like going to Tumani Kamara as long as he's below 5K. Bobby Portis definitely is going to stand out as a strong value tournament play, but his ownership's coming up. It's there today. I mean, Brook Lopez is a pretty strong pivot off of him at basically the same price and a fifth of the ownership. We've seen this play out many times before, right?
Yep. Yeah, and Brooks been really good this year.
Yeah, so that could be a spot. I don't think it really matters because Ben Simmons is probably starting at center for the Nets again today, right?
Yep.
So I don't think it matters though for Brook Lopez. Like he's still going to do what he does. Like
yeah.
Ben, go ahead.
I was kind of scrolling through the model a little bit. Two plays that we didn't touch on is we didn't really talk about Portland yet, but I think Ayton and Grant at their prices look pretty solid.
Yeah, so none of these guys stand out in the model for OF value, and then DK value kind of Tumani Kamara, but not too much. But I think these guys are pretty strong place to get to at their ownership on this slate. Ayton has shown that ceiling, and then Jeremy Grant's the one that went off last game. He's pulling the ownership twice as much as Denny. I still like getting to both of them. Scoot Henderson, 5,300 at 15%. Like he played minutes in a 40-point blowout. He plays minutes when it's a close game. I think Scoot's probably a pretty great play tonight.
Yeah, I agree.
Does Chet have a good matchup against the Hawks?
Yeah, it's a decent matchup.
In theory, I think so. Yeah, it depends if the Hawks start rolling out a Kongwu a little bit more because I kind of think he's better than Clint Capella at this point.
Yeah.
Shea or Trey? Model has SGA. They're the same price on DraftKings. On FanDuel, you're saving about 1,000. FD value is the same, but the model prefers SGA on DraftKings. Although I will say you're getting a pretty decent ownership discount just by pivoting to Trae Young at the same price. Lillard 8,400 on FanDuel. Yeah, I mean 8,400. He seems like one of the easiest plays to make over there. The 44% is definitely justified, right?
Yeah, I played him a lot last slate, and I think he was 8,600. So I'll probably be right back.
Yeah, and like even playing Giannis in that same lineup, we can run it back with some of the top value plays: Cam Johnson, Ben Simmons, but you can still make the salaries work, and it's the lineups still look good.
Yep.
Hit the like. Appreciate that. Yeah, hit the like, sub, so you get the notifications when we're live. We're live at the same time most days. Sunday's just a little weird because the lock is an hour earlier today. Oh, DeAndre Hunter's out. All right, nice. Gives us something
Yeah.
to talk about. We were almost
I was really hoping that would be later.
yeah, and so everyone's gonna have enough time to take advantage of this. It's such a boost for Jalen Johnson, right?
Still, there's 40 minutes, so maybe people don't with NFL going on, but I don't know.
I mean, late swap is definitely more powerful on Sunday versus
Yeah.
any other day, especially when it locking kind of in the middle of the day. I mean, it's not around the time any other football game's starting, but people are watching football, so
Yeah. I'd kind of planned on that already. I was really hoping that would come after the 5 o'clock lock or 6.
So we expect Jalen Johnson to get a little bit more of the usage. His rebounding's been poor, so hopefully his rebounding rate comes up. But DeAndre Hunter is leaving behind 31 minutes. How do we kind of expect that to play out? You kind of mentioned that maybe the Hawks could go a double big lineup with Okongwu and Capella for a few minutes.
Yeah, that's something they did a lot last year. They started to become more accustomed to it, and then they were also doing it not in the preseason, but I think it was summer league. So it's something that they could do, especially with them being short on bodies. But as far as starting, I kind of lean that they go Vit.
Okay, yeah, and Fit's going to be a good call because I wonder if the field is going to assume Ricochet starting.
Yeah, they will.
Uh, yeah, I'm looking at him at 4,100, 3,900, and he's going to be a really good play, I think. I mean, we should expect more than 20 minutes. He hasn't been great, but this price is cheap enough, and especially on FanDuel, he could fall into a block and a steal. But I mean, so in terms of Ricochet versus Vic Krejci, how do you expect your ownerships to play out?
I would definitely rather play Ricochet. Vit, he's a pretty terrible fantasy producer. I mean, he's almost min price, so I guess you're hoping for him to hit a few threes. But I think even if he draws a start, he's not really the guy that you want to go to.
I think I agree that Vit probably starts, and he's going to be the contrarian play. I'm pretty sure the field is going to be on Ricochet more. But again, 3,100, he's probably going to be projected for a few more than 17 if he ends up starting. It's kind of more of what he allows you to do with your lineup. And then I'm just going to mention Garrison Matthews' name since he's staring at us right here at min price 1%. He is in play as like a deep value shot.
Yeah, they could even start him. I mean, there's a lot of ways they could go. They might want Vit to run the second unit because Buffkin's still out, Bogdanovich is still out, so they're really short.
That's a good point. And yeah, let's say Garrison Matthews ended up starting. I would like him more than I would like Vit if Vit was starting.
Definitely.
And then I'd still like Ricochet just as much. And possibly more minutes for Dyson Daniels.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know
It
if he
could
could
be.
play anymore, but maybe.
Yeah, he's kind of already at his ceiling. We've been projected for 33, so 34, 35 maybe.
Yeah.
I'm locking Daniels in every slate until he's 7K. Can't blame you for that. He should start over Bogdanovich. Well, I think the idea there is Dyson plays really good defense, which is really awesome to have next to Trey. And then, like Smitty just mentioned, let Bogdan come on off the bench and run the second unit.
Yep.
Play on FanDuel, haven't figured out roster construction on DK. DK's better for Showdown. I definitely agree on the Showdown part.
Yeah.
Cash locks on DK. If you're using the model to look for a cash game, so the model is built out to help us win GPPs or finish near the top of GPPs. So for cash, the best thing to do is probably just sort by ownership and just roster some of the higher owned guys. That's really it.
Yeah.
Won't Ricochet get Dort shut down D? Here's the thing about like individual matchups. How many possessions is Dort actually going to be guarding Ricochet? How often are they actually going to be on the court at the same time? So it's more important to just look at it as Ricochet versus OKC's team defense, which OKC has probably the best team defense in the NBA, rather than just thinking about Dort locking him up. Although I've mentioned before, like players like Dort, I do kind of consider, and I think we're going to have to with OKC this year, like that individual matchup. But it's been too few games to really make any large decisions on that. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree too.
Who's starting at center for the Pelicans? It's probably Daniel Tice, but Missy's played a couple more minutes than him in both of the games. Hey, we're all hard working over here, man. The amount of stuff that Smitty and I do behind the scenes to bring you guys the good stuff. Well, hopefully it's good anyway. We'll find out after the slate.
Yeah. So I was just scrolling through FanDuel ownership, and some things I think are interesting we didn't really touch on is Gary Trent's projected for 48% ownership there. Do you like Gary Trent at 48% ownership?
No, but I get it. 4,500.
Yeah.
My question though is just how many of these lineups are going to have like $3 or $4 in them? Because that might be some leverage to play, just not $3 or $4. I mean,
Yeah.
4 guys on FanDuel are basically pulling 30% ownership.
I totally get it. I mean, the minutes have been there. This matchup is just, it's pretty nice for him going against Brooklyn, but I don't know. It still feels really high.
And it's a weirdly close spread at 7.5 points. Because I mean, I've been ragging on Brooklyn, talking about their bottom 3 team in the NBA, but they're within 10 points of the Bucks. So you don't think Ricochet gets thrown into the fire today? Why wouldn't he? Let's see his minutes from the first 2 games. I mean, he played 19. Go ahead.
I said I don't really think they start him, but they definitely could.
I mean, it's possible he starts. Yeah. Either way, I mean, the 19 minutes is probably a pretty reasonable floor to expect, and then with Hunter out, should be a couple more.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're looking at a minimum 24, 25 minutes.
This is an interesting one thrown in the chat. Appreciate you mentioning him. David Roddy, he's definitely in line to get some minutes off the bench after DNPing. He's the flat min price. Now, he probably doesn't play that many minutes, but no one's going to play him. I don't know if he's going to show up in other projection models, so that's probably not a bad shout.
Yeah, especially on a short slate, I think it's probably in play.
Definitely, yeah. Especially with well, he's not showing up in the model. He's 3K, but like Garrison Matthews is also 3K. Vitz 3,100, and then the rookie's 4,100. So that could be a good pivot. Nice shout out. Trent's ownership will come down with Hunter out. Yeah, that's a good point, Deuce. Thank you for pointing that out.
Let's see.
TJD, Trace Jackson Davis. We haven't really mentioned him. I don't know. I haven't thought too much about him. What are his minutes look like?
Kind of like the rest of Golden State.
Yeah,
22 to 25.
It's like the same thing with all their guys. Just minutes could be so volatile. And, usually we want to lean into this kind of volatility. 25 versus 17 minutes. We have TJD predicted for 22 today. So, I mean, if you want to like bump him up to 25 minutes, he's going to look pretty good at 4,800 and 5,200. Power forward eligible on FanDuel. I don't mind him.
Yep.
The NFL has been horrible for tight ends this season. Today there's been 15 tight end touchdowns, and we got all of them, baby. Who has better upside, Hield or Scoot? I think it's Scoot just based on minutes potential, because Scoot definitely has more minutes potential than Buddy Hield, and Buddy Hield is shooting like no one's ever shot before.
Yeah, Scoot just has more ways he could run into extra minutes.
Yeah, I mean, he was in the game in a 40-point blowout. Maybe if he's having a good game, he closes in a close game. So it's Scoot. Zubac or Harden, late night hammer. I think they're both awesome late night hammers, yeah. All right, let's build a...
Did we lose Chuck?
Before we get out of here, we got... All right, I think I'm back. Sorry about that. Why does that happen? Anyways, who's the first person you're throwing in your DraftKings lineup tonight?
Let's see. Sort by the model. Well, we both kind of like Prince. I think we start there.
Yeah, I like that, and I like that you started with value first. So let's get.
That's kind of how I tend to build. I don't know how most people build, but I always start with my value I want.
Yeah, I know we don't always do it on the show, but I think that's the proper way to do it. Fill out the strong value and then see how much salary you have left over to get to the studs. Dyson Daniels seems like with at his ownership, I think we can throw him in here. 17%.
Zubac.
Yeah, we'll get Zubac at center. Probably is the strongest center play other than Giannis, right? Maybe Chet.
It's kind of
DeAndre.
weird.
Yeah, Aiden.
Chet, you could play power forward too. So
yeah, I mean Chet or let's see, Chet 7,700, Jalen Williams 7,300 is a little bit awkward.
Yeah.
What did the model think?
Has Chet by a little bit.
We'll go with Chet. We'll side with the model on this one. We're still at 6,700 per player. I mean, I guess we'll see if we can find another value play in here. Was there anyone beyond the model that you were looking at for value?
Could do Jordan Hawkins, but I don't know if he's like super cheap.
We're doing Jordan Hawkins for sure. Yeah. No, that is an excellent call because scrolling through the model value, it doesn't feel great, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do we want to throw Cam Johnson in here since he's pulling ownership and the model does like him today?
Yep.
Cam Johnson leaves us 8,800, so I'm going to throw Giannis in the utility. Leaves us 6,600 for guard, so probably going to want to move something around, but a lot we can do there. Let's say we play Schroeder for 5,700. Yeah, Giannis.
Just not too bad.
Yeah, just upgrade one of these other spots. Oh, yeah. So you're not leaving as much, or
what if you go Trey and utility?
Yeah, I was going to say Trey or SGA. They're the same price, so either or. Leaves us 7,900. I mean, it's perfect for Jalen Johnson, so that's...
So then I'd probably rather play SGA in that lineup.
Yep, I think I agree there, especially Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson with the SGA Chet Holmgren run back. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can do with this kind of core. I mean, Taurean Prince, Jordan Hawkins open up a lot. If you play one of those min-price guys, depending on the Hawks starting lineup, could open up even more. So...
Yeah, we could have started with Garrison Matthews.
Right, instead of Hawkins. I mean, let's just see what that does real quick before we get out of here. 3K leaves us 9,100 in the utility. Steph Curry. I mean, I'd rather go with the other one and play Jalen Johnson, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we can do today with this value. So appreciate everybody watching. If you want to see how the model reacts to late news, let's do a refresh real quick, see if DeAndre Hunter's in here. But you can sign up on OccupyFantasy.com. Plans as low as $7 a week. It's $1 a day. It's one of the best values in fantasy sports. And so Atlanta, I want to say Jalen Johnson's OF index just went up a little bit. And Reese's Shares did. I probably should have screenshotted what it looked like before.
I think I got mine pulled up. Let me see.
Okay. Minutes. Rissa sure definitely just went up a few minutes. We have him projected for 27 now, which makes sense to me because he's going to be playing DeAndre's position.
Pretty much everybody went up, even Trey.
Yeah, and we're getting some ownership for Garrison Matthews and Vic Krejci now. So see what the starting lineup is, and we're going to lean towards the starter, but see how the model reacts a few minutes after we get that news. And then I think just mostly what we said earlier is still gonna hold just based on whoever the starter is. Can we do FD? The problem with building dummy lines on FanDuel is FanDuel's the worst site in existence. So it's really difficult. Yeah, I can't even log in half the time, and then showing it on stream is surprisingly not easy. But just real quick, I mean, sorting by FanDuel, I think Jalen Williams is probably definitely a play. Probably just got to play Gary Trent. I mean, Cam Johnson's still cheap over on FanDuel. Jalen Johnson's still on FanDuel. So basically a lot of the same plays. It's just those min-price guys on DraftKings are a little different over on a FanDuel. They're not as useful. So, pause this or whatever. You can just see it from here. But like I said, sign up for the site and you can see all this after we get off the stream. So FanDuel's awesome. I mean, it's I can't even log in half the time. I can't enter lineups except on my iPad specifically. I play there mostly every day. It's definitely not the best site. AJ Green over Gary Trent on FanDuel, according to the douche. All right, there you go. There's a high risk flyer. So appreciate everybody watching. We got to get out of here, head to the Discord, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.